So excess light causes stress to the body. Now we know that photosynthesis is the main process which is directly related to the light. So intensity of the light when it increases. So see how light and photosynthesis are related to each other. So when intensity of light increases, photosynthesis also increase. After a certain level, when intensity of light is increased further, then what happens? Photosynthesis will not increase. Instead, it will become saturated. The rate of photosynthesis will become saturated. And if the intensity of light is increased even further, then we will see that the rate of photosynthesis is decreased. Okay. So what we see that in the third case, light is increasing but photosynthesis is decreasing. That means this is a light dependent decrease of photosynthesis. The first one is light dependent increase of photosynthesis, and the last one is light dependent decrease in photosynthesis. Clear? Now look here, rate of CO2 assimilation on y-axis, which also means photosynthesis, and rate of in x-axis it's the irradiance. So if the irradiance is increased, then photosynthesis rate is also increasing exponentially. But after a certain level, we see that even if the light is increased, the photosynthesis rate is saturated. There is no increase in the photosynthetic rate. In the third case, if the intensity of light is increased even further, then we see that rate of photosynthesis is decreased. Here in the third case, what we see? That photosynthetic rate is decreased. And this condition is said to be as photo inhibited condition. Okay, this condition when the light dependent decrease of photosynthesis is there, it is known as photo inhibited condition. So to show the short term regulation to this excess light, what plants do that they phosphorylate their LHC2 complex. Now what is LHC2? This is a light harvesting complex. What do? They harvest the light. Okay, they harvest the light and transfer it to PS2 reaction center. So when PS2 receives the light, it becomes overexcited. It becomes excited. Okay, sorry, not overexcited, it becomes excited. Okay, but when the PS2 is receiving excess light, when it's receiving excess energy, then what happens? In that case, PS2 becomes overexcited. So overexcitation is harmful. So PS2 when it is overexcited, then what will happen? That it will, due to the overexcitation of PS2, there will be the accumulation of plastoquinol. So when plastoquinol is accumulated, it leads to the activation of an enzyme known as protein kinase. It activates an enzyme known as protein kinase. Now this protein kinase, what it will do? It will phosphorylate the LHC2. So once LHC2 is phosphorylated, it can no longer bind with PS2. Okay, it dissociates with PS2 when it is in the phosphorylated condition. So now PS2 can no longer become overexcited, it is not receiving the energy anymore. Okay, now this condition has to be reversed because the reversible phosphorylation of LHC2, this condition has to be reversed. So how it is reversed? Now after this process, PS1 will come into play. Now, if PS2 is diminished, if PS2, the result of this process is what? The result of this process is PS2 will slow down or PS2 will be diminished. So once PS2 will slow down, what will happen? PS1 will oxidize the plastoquinol to plastoquinone. It will oxidize the plastoquinol to plastoquinone. Okay, plastoquinone is formed. Now, once plastoquinone is formed, what will happen? It will deactivate the protein kinase. This will deactivate the protein kinase. Once protein kinase is deactivated, now the enzyme phosphatase will remove the phosphate group, forming LHC2 back. Okay. So this is the reversible process. So this is here the process is reversed. Okay. So this is here the process is reversed. Clear? So this is a kind of short term regulation of energy distribution. Next. So if the plant is exposed to light even further, then what will happen? The rate of photosynthesis will begin to decrease. Now this will lead to photoinhibition. So what is photoinhibition? If the plant continues to be exposed to higher and higher levels of excess light, then the rate of photosynthesis begin to decrease. This is known as photoinhibition of photosynthesis. And this photoinhibition of photosynthesis is a light dependent decrease in photosynthetic rate. We already discussed. Now remember one thing, that PS2 is more sensitive to photoinhibition than PS1. Now when it is a chronic photoinhibition, then it will result in the damage of PS2. Okay, so PS2 has a polypeptide named D1 polypeptide, which is very much sensitive to highlight. So when there is high light, what happens? The D1 polypeptide is damaged, which will lead to photoinhibition. Okay, here I am marking that when there is high light, high irradiance. Here. So in that case, what will happen? If once D1 polypeptide is damaged, what will happen? Photosynthesis will be stopped. So how the plant will recover from it? The plant will show the D1 repair cycle immediately. So once D1 is damaged, what will happen? A gene named PSBA will be activated. Please remember this gene. The PSB gene will be activated. This PSB gene is responsible for the synthesis of D1 polypeptide. So chloroplasts have already have this gene in them, PSBA, which synthesizes the D1 polypeptide again when it is damaged. Okay, so once this D1 polypeptide is damaged, once this is damaged, what will happen? There needs to be degraded. How they will be degraded? So first they will be phosphorylated. Okay, they will be first phosphorylated, which will mark them for proteolysis, and they will be degraded. So phosphorylation after the damage will lead to the degradation of D1 protein. So what will happen once D1 is degraded? There will be the synthesis of new D1. So PSBA gene is transcribed and translated. After that, the chloroplast have all the machineries for that. So new D1 polypeptide will be synthesized. This new D1 polypeptide is then inserted into the stromal thylakoid and new functional PS2 complex is reassembled. So once one protein was damaged, there will be the disassembly of PS2. Once new D1 polypeptide is formed again, the PS2 will be reassembled. Okay. So look at the picture. Functional PS2 was there previously. Excess light, what will happen? Exposure to the irradiance. What excess light means? What? Irradiance, that is exceeding the capacity of the plant. Okay, then what will happen? At that capacity in which they cannot dissipate as heat. Okay, if they cannot dissipate this large amount of energy as heat, then D1 will be impaired. So what we see, that this functional PS2 in that case will be converted to damaged PS2. Okay, PS2 will be damaged. So this PS2, when it is damaged, PS2 will be disassembled and D1 polypeptide will be degraded by some proteolytic enzymes. Okay, they will be degraded by some proteolytic enzymes, which will lead to the formation of new D1 de novo by the synthesis by the chloroplast translational machinery. All the machinery chloroplast will have for the synthesis of new D1. And they are inserted into the thylakoid membrane to form the functional PS2 again. So this is a D1 repair cycle which occurs when there is chronic photoinhibition. Okay. So chronic photoinhibition when the plant cannot dissipate the energy as heat. Energy as heat, then what happened? It leads to the damage of D1. Then it leads to the D1 damage and its repair. In short, we will say D1 repair cycle. Okay. Now, the photoprotective mechanisms include photochemical quenching. So, what is photochemical quenching? That chlorophyll molecule, that PS1, PS2, they are chlorophyll molecules only. So, these chlorophyll molecules, when they receive the energy, they become excited. So, the excited, I am marking with star. The excited one will release the energy to another molecule. Say, for example, oxygen came and oxygen received the electron. Okay, so once oxygen received the energy or the electron, what will happen? Oxygen became the singlet oxygen. Okay, so if oxygen is the molecule which is accepting the excitation energy of chlorophyll, then chlorophyll is saved. Okay, in that way the energy can be quenched. Okay, this is known as excitation transfer. Here the molecule of oxygen is receiving the energy from the chlorophyll and forming singlet oxygen. Now this singlet oxygen is very much reactive and it damages the cellular component. Now you can ask me, then what is the requirement of forming the singlet oxygen? So if singlet oxygen is not formed, then the chlorophyll molecule would have been damaged, which will lead to the inhibition of photosynthesis. Okay, but singlet oxygen will lead to the damage of some cellular components. Okay, but photosynthesis machinery will not be damaged. they are very reactive. They damage the cellular component. Okay. So they prevent the damage by removing the excess energy. Okay, excitation transfer means they remove the excess energy. So whatever energy was stored in the chlorophyll, they have transferred it to the another molecule. This is known as photochemical quenching. Now non-photochemical quenching is that if the carotenoids become excited, if the carotenoids receive the light, if they become excited, they do not transfer the molecule to the oxygen. They do not transfer the energy to oxygen. They do not have sufficient energy to transfer the energy to the oxygen. Instead, what they will do, they will release the energy as heat. Okay, so they will release their energy to heat instead of forming the singlet oxygen. So once they release their energy as heat, what will happen? They come back to their ground state. So they become excited. So carotenoids are when excited. What we see, they release the energy as heat and come back to the ground state. Okay, they do not form singlet oxygen. Now, carotenoids, one type of carotenoids named xanthophylls include viola xanthin, anthraxanthin, and zeaxanthin. They are involved in this non-photochemical quenching. Now, as a scavenger, so once the toxic products are formed, once all these defense response are not successful, once the toxic products are formed, carotenoids have the ability to eliminate those toxic products by scavenging. They scavenge or make it into non-toxic components. Okay, so see this picture. This is a protection mechanism against photo damage. So the first line of defense here, what we see, that is a suppression of the damage by quenching of excited energy. So the first one is quenching of excess energy by heat. Okay, if the defense response is not sufficient, then the toxic products form. Once the toxic products form, there are variety of scavenging mechanisms. Who scavenges? The carotenoid molecules are the scavengers. Okay. Another molecules like superoxide, dismutase, ascorbate, they all are the scavengers, which breaks the toxic products into the non-toxic products. Okay. So first defense is like quenching in to heat is not when possible, then toxic products are formed. Then scavengers will scavenge the toxic products to form the non-toxic products. This is the second line of defense. This is the first line of defense. In the third line of defense, what happens? If the second line of defense also fails, then the photo products can damage the D1, which is more in the severe case, D1 will be damaged. Okay, the D1 protein of PS2 will be damaged. Once D1 protein is damaged, it leads to photo inhibition. Okay. Now D1 repair cycle I have already discussed. So what does the toxic products include? It includes superoxide, singlet oxygen, hydrogen peroxide, hydroxide radical, triplet state of chlorophyll, etc. So see here how this xanthophyll cycle works in photoprotection. Here under highlight, look here. I'm writing it in bigger. So under highlight what happens? There is a process named de-epoxidation. De-epoxidation. Now what happens in de-epoxidation? Start from viola to anthera to zeaxanthin. So in de-epoxidation, that is under condition of highlight, what happens? That the two oxygen groups from the rings of viola xanthin, two oxygen groups. Okay, so where are the two oxygen groups? One is this one is removed to form anthraxanthin. In the second stage, another oxygen group is removed to form, see, this oxygen group is removed to form zeaxanthin. Okay, so this is two oxygen is removed in total. Intermediate is anthraxanthin and finally leads to the formation of zeaxanthin. Okay. Now in zeaxanthin, the number of carbon-carbon double bond is increased. Look here. Since oxygen is removed, carbon-carbon double bond is increased. Okay. Now this xanthophil cycle is reversible. Since under low light, this zeaxanthin is converted back to viola xanthin. See, when it's low light condition, what we see that this zeaxanthin is converted back to viola xanthin. But under high light condition, viola xanthin are converted to zeaxanthin. So look here, under low light condition, what we see, viola xanthin is converted to, under low light condition, what we see that viola xanthin acts as a light harvesting pigment. It harvests the light because carotenoids are the molecules which also harvest the light. Now viola xanthin, when it has the light, is able to transfer its excitation energy via chlorophyll B and chlorophyll A to P680. Under the low light condition, they act as a light harvesting complex, okay, and transfer its energy to PS680. But when it is excess light, then what happens? This viola xanthin is converted to zeaxanthin by de-epoxidation. De-epoxidation. Okay, here de-epoxidation will convert the viola xanthin to zeaxanthin. De-epoxidation will convert the viola xanthin to zeaxanthin. Now zeaxanthin is unable to transfer the energy to P680. So PS680 will not be overexcited. And what happens with zeaxanthin overexcitation is zeaxanthin will lose its energy as heat. Okay, so P680 remain unexcited. Here, this is again an important part. So under highlight, what happens that viola xanthin is converted to zeaxanthin, and under low light, zeaxanthin is converted back to viola xanthin. So photorespiration is again a process which helps in the reducing, which helps in prevention of photosynthetic apparatus. So these are the process which under condition of high light intensity they uses excess ATP. They dissipate excess ATP and the reducing power which is NADPH. So they dissipate the excess ATP and reducing power and thus preventing the photosynthetic apparatus. Okay, they use up the excess energy so that the apparatus will not be damaged. Here, to solve some question answer. Which of the following mechanism is not involved in providing photoprotection to plants? Okay, so zeaxanthin formation, yes, it provides. So, okay, in highlight condition, zeaxanthin is formed. Okay, photolysis of water, degradation of D1 protein, yes. Thermal dissipation means releasing of energy as heat, yes. But photolysis of water we did not see. So this is the correct answer because it is not. Which one of the following mechanism is not involved in providing photoprotection to the plant? Zeaxanthin formation, like this is repeated. No? Yeah, this is repeated. So the photon intensity captured by green plants is used for the following processes. It is used for photosynthesis, generation of heat, production of toxic products, yes, damage to D1 of PS2. Based on the above fact, photo inhibition will happen when the entire photon intensity is used for photosynthesis. Excess photon intensity is completely used for heat generation. Excess photon intensity is used for heat generation and formation of toxic products. Excess photon intensity leads to the damage of D1 protein. So photo inhibition word when it is there will be the damage of D1 protein we discussed. So next, the photon intensity captured by green plants. Again, this is a repeat. I'm sorry friends for the repeat. Practice on your own. Till then, thank you.